Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Wrestling Challenge review series for the 5th of May 1991. Obviously, we've skipped some months here, but the other stuff isn't available. This was taped on the 16th of April, by the way, in Iowa. So, anyway, hosted by Gorilla Monsoon, Bobby Heenan, and Jim Neidhart, including Roddy Piper appearing as a guest on the barber shop, and also including a special report segment highlighting the last week's Superstars of Wrestling with Earthquake squashing Jake Roberts' Snake, and of course the apology that Sean Mooney gives at the time, which Jake Roberts basically all but calls him out for it being hollow, which is kind of funny looking back at it because you can see even here in May the hints of the SummerSlam heel turn. If you know it's coming, you kind of see Jake getting a little edgier as we go forward into that. To wonder how far ahead that was known. Anyway, the Bushwhackers defeating Dan Joseph and Tom Skyron, 151, Butch pin Skyron, following in the battering ram. Obviously, punches, kicks, basic stuff, nothing necessarily that needs to be noted. The Bushwhackers here in 1991 still trying to look for a major feud. They never really get one, oddly enough. It's just kind of there. I don't know that that's necessarily a good or bad thing. It just is what it is. And Bushwhackers, like I said, gut wrench, slam, and a battering ram, and off we go. We then move to that update mentioned before. Also, Haku with Bobby Heenan defeat Jim Evans 141 with the sidekick to the face. Haku, again, a lot of Tongan death grips, lots of nerve holds, lots of basic maneuvers. Haku, not exactly, in your best of situations, but still managing to do what he can, where he can, and kind of the Bobby Heenan managerial thing still there, and pretty intense. And the what's ironic is the cutaway from the Jake Roberts squashing thing when they will let guys be shown being, battered and kicked in the face, but never showing any marks. Evans does get a sleeper on Haku. Doesn't last him very long. Like I said, the match under 2 minutes. Bobby Heenan, super supportive of Haku, and they go to the event center. And again, most of these are the Boston feed, and certainly good old. Um, Good old Sean Mooney is there and kind of talking about upcoming house shows as they go towards things. And Colonel Mustafa basically says he's going to eliminate Jim Duggan. That's a pretty big thing there. And coming at the Boston Garden, the idea that Duggan and Mustafa would go at it literally years after they were caught in the same vehicle with each other and some marijuana. It's just kind of funny. Anyway, Big Boss Man up next with a squash match here. Boss Man in front of his feud with Rick Rude. Boss Man hits the sliding uppercut, some punches, some kicks, and of course the Boss Man slam, giving him the victory over his adversary here with very little effort needed. But then, of course, how much are you going to do with a guy who really doesn't fight back all that much? Obviously, Big Boss Man, a major babyface at the time, on the heels of his babyface turn a little more than a year before, right after WrestleMania 6. The Warlord and the British Bulldog continuing to be on their collision course in upcoming house shows. And they're still kind of sometimes doing the Full Nelson Challenge, sometimes doing things there. This is a Saturday night, May 18th, 1991 edition that they are plugging pretty hard here. Then we move to another in the series of squashes. Remember, 1991 still squash central in the WWF and just about actually lots of places. But the Berserker, who we have seen before, is not here, but Power and Glory is. Power and Glory is still a team post WrestleMania 7, although not much longer as they're being squashed. Hercules changing the look, a little bit longer hair, and and kind of a little bit more menacing. Hercules taking his aggressions easily out on an enhancement talent and hits him with a couple of, I guess you'd say, elevated things. Power and Glory and the Bushwhackers headed for a collision course. Not necessarily sure that ultimately is where we want to go. Sonny Blaze and George Anderson, 344. Roma Pint Anderson with a yellow off the top, and then Hercules holds him up to the backbreaker submission. 344 for a squash match for a team, pretty big deal, but the Power and Glory needed to be rehabbed after the major WrestleMania 7 loss. Intercontinental Champion, Mr. Perfect, defeating Tugboat using the tights for leverage, 412. It feels a lot longer because Tugboat doesn't do a lot of motion around there at the time. Kind of Tugboat just kind of lumbering around, and one would expect him to be, I don't know if I'd say in better shape, but certainly for a highlight with, you know, the a guy like Mr. Perfect, who Perfect didn't really get that great a match out of him. As mentioned, though, before we get to that match and the kind of blow-by-blow there, the first edition of the Barbershop, Roddy Piper talks about Michael Landon having cancer and not being willing to quit, having been run out of town by a motorcycle accident, and they blamed it on Ted DiBiase. Piper having used crutches and all that. Anyway, the Mr. Perfect and Tugboat thing, Tugboat bounces, or Hennig bounces off of Tugboat quite a few times, and eventually Hennig takes a good bit of punishment for that 4-minute match, but uses the tights and gets a quick victory. Bobby Heenan still managing. Then we see a vignette for Erwin R. Shyster, otherwise known as IRS, wearing some glasses and talking about taxes. Pretty big thing there, and obviously the idea there is to get people uprooted about the idea of, people not liking the tax man. Hacksaw Jim Duggan in an enhancement match here, sending the enhancement talent back into the ring. Duggan punches, kicks, and ultimately big shots there. Takes the man down, hits the All Glory knee, and then the running clothesline, and there we go. Once again, the rematches of Hogan and Slaughter talked about in the upcoming May house show, and that's kind of where we go there. Hulk Hogan against Sergeant Slaughter in the championship match. Desert Storm, basically no holds barred match there. Also hyped for a next week, facing off with the Orient Express and Legion of Doom on television. So squash for the Express. We will be back with more right after this.